Good evening. My name is Shahrokh Yadegari. I'm one of the associate directors at Qualcomm Institute and the director of the IDEAS initiative, the Initiative for Digital Exploration of Arts and Sciences. The charge for IDEAS is to foster, develop, and present interdisciplinary and experimental pieces and research that engage with the Qualcomm Institute's research work. Today's, we have the wonderful Pia's Wondrous Adventures in Tlaxlandia. This is our third and last piece that we're presenting to you, and I could not think of a better way to put this together with all the wonderful people that we have here to share their thoughts, their artistry, and their process of engaging with this piece. But before saying that, I'd like to acknowledge that the UC San Diego community and Qualcomm Institute holds great respect for the land and the original people of the area where our campus is located. Today, the Kumeyaay people continue to maintain their political sovereignty and cultural tradition as vital members of the San Diego community. We acknowledge their tremendous contributions to our region and thank them for their stewardship. The UC San Diego community holds great respect for the land, the original people of the area where the campus is located, once again. I also want to thank our staff. As I said, this is our last piece. The campus would not go along without the work of the staff, and we are coming out of the pandemic. We're holding our fingers crossed that come fall, we actually can host you to be with us, and we could have your presence, and we could do these pieces in person. Of course, this is generally an arts piece, and for the arts, every time is an opportunity. And this is another one of the pieces that shows what can be done with the given time, engaging with current issues. And as I said, I want to thank our staff for making all this possible for us to be able to adapt to the situation, specifically Trish Stone, the program coordinator and the producer of the shows of ideas, Hector Bracco, Megan Easton, Max Carrion, Soshi Roja, and Ruben Huerta. The main part of this piece are the artists who will come and talk to us. They're mostly the students of the theater and dance departments. The main part of the piece are the artists involved who are the students of the theater and dance department. And this is a collaboration, as I said, with a number of community partners, but they have produced this under the umbrella of the Chicanx Teatro Ensemble. And we have 4 generations of the Teatro, Chicanx Teatro Ensemble with us. It's absolutely wonderful. And it's a total pleasure to have the founder, Jorge Huerta, who has been the founder of this program, but also is one of the actors in this piece, and we'll have the pleasure of hearing from him. We also will have the pleasure of hearing from Teddy Cruz, who is one of the community partners and with the faculty at UC San Diego. As I said, the name of the piece is Pia's Wondrous Adventures in Tlaxlandia, a musical toy theater, puppetry, graphic novel mashup for a brief digital time. I'm going to go through all the names. The bios are up on the website. Unfortunately, we don't have to go through the wonderful bios of all the artists who are involved. And once we do this, we have another little intro from Robert Castro, and then we'll watch the piece and we'll listen to a number of the presentations about the piece and about the community partners and their involvement, and then we can move to the Q&A session. The book, lyrics, and the music is by José Cruz González. Episode 1 that we will be watching, the Hummingbird Wizard Seeks a Hero. It's been created and performed by UC San Diego Chicanx Teatro Ensemble. UC San Diego Chicano Teatro Ensemble. For now, it's composed of the designers and artists Elizabeth Barrett, Stuart Blackwood, Byron Ely, Harry Foster, Shelby Thatch, Zoe Trotman, Michael Wogolis, and Salvador Zamora. Actors are Jorge Huerta, Steve Llamas, Angel Nieves, Natalia Cuentra Riestra. The editors and the animators are Sam Gerdes, Kyle Johnson, and Angelise Reyes. The artistic team is Robert Castro as the director, Mary Hepner, dramaturg, and Joanna Smith, puppeturg. The community liaison has been Juliana Kleist Mendes. The community partners are In Other People's Shoes Productions, the director is Mary Hepner, founding and producing artistic director. Of course, UC San Diego Department of Theater and Dance, UC San Diego Center on Global Justice, as directed by Fauna Foreman and Teddy Cruz, and associate director Jessica Guerrero Acevedo. The Casa Familiar Community Station, Andy Stern. I'm very happy to have Andy with us and to hear from him as well. Again, I want to also thank all of you who have made to be with us at this time. This is our last piece. It's really our great party. And here I'm going to pass the stage to Robert Castro, and the way we'll work as we call on you, please turn your videos on so you can join with us. I'm going to pass it to you, Robert, please.
Thank you, Shahrokh. And a huge thank you to everyone who joined us on our launching of the journey of this incredible piece that we've been working on during the spring quarter. Thanks to all of the people that are community partners, all our wonderful staff and support from Theater and Dance Department, and of course from the Ideas that are hosting this evening, especially you, Shahrokh. Thank you so much. A few things just to give some context before we kind of jump into experiencing the work and having our discussion and meeting all the wonderful artists and collaborators and souls that have touched, that have participated and that are inside this incredible journey. Really important to share that, yes, as Shahrokh was saying, this was born during the pandemic. We had an original proposal, the Chicanx Teatro Ensemble, way pre-lockdown, so to speak, at school. And we had to shift. And our original pre-pandemic proposal really shifted and transformed into something really extraordinary that was really timely, really important, and really embraced the current reality of all the kind of shifts that are happening seismically on so many levels that we're experiencing during these last year and some months. Critical to the entire impulse, I want to say, is the Teatro Campesino, who is the kind of godfather, so to speak, of all teatros that exist in the universe, in the cosmos, is this wonderful saying of theater, which is, if people can't go to the theater, then the theater must go to the people. And I thought that was such an incredible opportunity to embrace that right now in terms of access and sharing and trying to maintain community and fellowship and having art and culture and transformative experience through arts and ideas through this digital experience. So I thought the Ideas proposal that we decided to kind of put together really embraced the current reality and our current 21st century experience. I really want to also, a couple more points to share. I want to just talk about how we came together with the Department of Theater and Dance, the MFA design area. That was really the impulse of Judy Dolan, who's currently the design area head. And she approached me and said, you know, we would love to work with you, or the designers would like to have an experience. Can we create something together that would be really unique, singular, again, during this kind of pandemic lockdown where production is on Zoom and digital. And so another seed was set. And so from there, I had been working already previously with Murray and with José Cruz González on this wonderful piece, Pia. But we had been having our own wonderful kind of our own path of commitment to maintaining the piece throughout the past year, developing on our own time. And I thought this would be a great opportunity this meshing of this a quarter working with these wonderful design students, meshing it with this ideas platform of supporting art and technology, and having 10 weeks to come together and think about new forms, new processes of creating work, and new play development, and specifically putting visual dramaturgy at the center of the process. So that was really the kind of wonderful thrust of the quarter. When I do and when I create pieces for Teatro, for the Chicanx Teatro, part of my project is always to have community engagement. So in the past, we have worked with Centro Cultural de la Raza in Balboa Park. We've worked with San Diego Girls Rehabilitation Facility. We work with the Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial. Depending on the issues, our focus, what we're building a piece about in the past. And so this time, I was really interested in reaching out to certain communities that I thought would be really wonderful places to set some seeds for further development out of the pandemic experience and post-COVID, when we're into being able to be in time and space collectively. And I came across, luckily, the paths of Teddy Cruz and Fauna Foreman, who are the directors of the UC San Diego Center on Global Justice. And they've been deep commitment partners in the entire process. And I can't imagine this without them. And along with the community station, the Casa Familiar, run by Andy Sturm, who you'll meet as well. So altogether, this idea of community partnership, working collaboratively with the Chicanx Teatro experience is part and parcel of the experience. So during this pandemic experience and this digital experience, it was actually even more important to maintain and to have that presence. That was something that, again, is really critical to it. So ultimately, what you're going to be seeing today is an exploration, or as I'm stealing the phrase from Fauna and Teddy, a collaboratory of an exploration of part one of an entire 7-episode piece that Jose is creating for Pia's adventures. You'll see the first episode today, and again, it's a exploration and a collaboratory. And I think it's just really important to kind of bring it back to the spirit and the kind of purpose of the Chicanx Teatro Ensemble's work, which is to recall, to remember, and to reclaim ancient indigenous wisdoms and philosophies, and specifically in this moment for the 21st century. I like to say what we're trying to do this quarter is be high-tech Aztecs. How can we hold hands with the past, our indigenous rituals, ideals, cosmo-visions, and be present with them now, responding to our current world, and then set seeds for the future, right? So that's the entire kind of project in a sense. So, right, we are responding to our current world with our voices, our imaginations, repairing, caring for the future, and ultimately the audience is critical at this point as well. Just to share in terms of the point of view that this is really a piece created for theater for young audiences and families, but of course it's also anybody has access to that, and of course we're all young at heart, as they say. So we were very conscious of who our audiences were, and understanding that at this time of pandemic, when we come out of that, thinking about, even in the theater and just in the world in general, like the future citizens. How can we invite them to dream? How can we invite them to participate? How can we invite them to help shape the future of democracy, of the cosmos, right? So ultimately, what you're experiencing today in this container of humanity is a wonderful celebration of many people's efforts, love, and joy, and imaginations, and potentialities. And ultimately, it's a gesture of creating art as moral and social action for our current reality.
Thank you very much, Robert. Please enjoy the piece, and we'll come back to discuss it.
Pia's Wondrous Adventures in Tlaxlandia. Chapter 1. The Hummingbird Wizard Seeks a Hero.
Today is Pia's 10th birthday, sad tears in her eyes. Her best friend, Mr. Jesse, lost his flight and died. A sickness spread across the land, no one could understand. Parents, family, and friends, some sadly died in the end.
I miss you, Mr. Jesse, come back to me. I need you, Mr. Jesse, like things used to be.
How do you keep from crying when you feel like dying? Your world shut down, everything upside down.
I miss you, Mr. Jesse, I miss you, Mr. Jesse, I miss you, Mr.
I am the Hummingbird Wizard from the Kingdom of Tlaxlandia. I too have lost many friends.
You can speak?
Yes, I speak many languages, Metzgali.
My name is Pia.
In our world, Metzgali means she who seeks truth.
Your world?
We haven't much time. The moons are in alignment. We must go now.
Go where?
To Tlaxlandia. Queen Elvirus, the sorceress of the eastern moons, and Ocelotl, the jaguar lord of the night, have all but finished us. Only you can stop them.
What's happening?
Lord Ocelotl has found me.
Prepare your fate, wizard bird.
He mustn't find you!
Am I dead?
No. You've been sleeping.
Who are you?
I am Nopaliztli, the Hummingbird Wizard's apprentice, Metzgali. Thank goodness I found you. I've been looking for you for days.
It's Mr. Jesse's taco food truck. Oh no!
The Hummingbird Wizard saved your life from Lord Ocelot by changing you into your animal spirit.
Change me back!
Only the Hummingbird Wizard and his wizard excellence can do that. His last message to me from the Book of Instruction was to search for you in the Valley of Sorrows.
Well, where is he?
Imprisoned in La Isla de las Muñecas.
Then that's where I must go.
No, it's impossible and much too dangerous. Queen Elvirus' spies are everywhere. What to do? What to do? Look there!
Hey! Hey! What are you doing, Nopaliztli?
Hiding?
Why?
Because I'm a failure. A good for nothing? I'll never be a Nawali like the great Hummingbird Wizard.
Never say never! Mr. Jesse always said that if you never try, how will you ever get better?
Is this Mr. Jesse a great Nawali in your world?
No. He was my godfather and my best friend.
How did you do that?
I don't know! Look, Nopaliztli, I need your help to find the Hummingbird Wizard so he can change me back. If that means going to La Isla de las Muñecas, then that's where we need to go.
We?
Yes. We!
I'm not prepared for this, and I'm not very brave.
That makes two of us. I'm Pia. We're partners now. Slide me some skin, Good enough.
It's too far on foot, and my wings aren't strong enough to carry you, Pia Metzgali. We need something to get us there as fast as possible. The serpent path is long and treacherous.
We got Mr. Jesse's taco food truck.
That thing?
Mr. Jesse's dream to turn an old food truck into an electric lowrider has happened. I'm calling it my Lolo, my ride, my Ramfla. Get in. Vámonos! On the serpent path is where we go. Together as one, that's how we roll.
Let's not forget the trouble ahead. Facing dangers, we'll lose our heads.
One step at a time, we'll take it slow. Together as one, here we go. Sing it with me, loud and proud.
One step at a time, we'll take it slow. Together as one, here we go.
The game begins. We shall see who wins.
You know, this is where we would clap for you. That's a really wonderful piece. What a playful, thoughtful, and meaningful piece. And can't wait for all of us to talk about it. I'd like to ask Jorge Huerta to come and talk to us about Chicanx Teatro Ensemble. You know, Jorge, who's an emeritus professor and who held the Chancellor's Associate Endowed Chair, and he's a leading authority in contemporary Chicano and U.S. Latina theater, and he's published many, many books. And if I want to go through his bio, it's going to be here. We need another hour for that, and that includes many of our guests. So please, forgive me for this quick introduction. Such a pleasure to have you, Jorge. Could you tell us about Chicanx Teatro Ensemble? I understand, as I mentioned before, we have 4 generations, and you must be really happy to see this happening as the founder of Chicanx Teatro Ensemble.
I can't tell you how proud I am every time I see the video. I saw it earlier today with the director, Robert Castro, who was my student, and the playwright, José Cruz González, who was my student at UCSD. It's just, it's wonderful. It's just wonderful. A brief. I'm not known for brevity, and I am definitely a tangential person, so I'm going to try to stick to the point. I made an outline. I wanted people to understand that when Robert pointed out that it was 4 generations of people through this process, that the Teatro Ensemble was founded when I was brought to the faculty of UC San Diego's theater, it was then theater department, in 1975, hold your breath. 6 undergraduates followed me from UC Santa Barbara, where I had completed my PhD in theater, and apparently the first Chicano to do that. So here I was, and we founded El Teatro Ensemble, the UCSD, and what has happened over the years has been an incredible growth. We were one of many teatros that were happening across the country, especially the Southwest, all the way to Chicago, Puerto Rican groups, Nuyorican groups on the East Coast. And so there was a movement. It was a movement of Chicano theaters that began with, as Robert pointed out, the Teatro Campesino And one of their mottos was in Lakesh, tú eres mi otro yo. Si te hago daño a ti, if I do harm, you are my other self. If I do harm to you, I do harm to myself. If I do well by you, I do well by myself. In Lakesh. In other words, the golden rule, do what unto others what you would have them do unto you. And that's been a motto actually for the Teatro Campesino and for many, many of the teatros that evolved over that period. So here we were in 1975 founding the Teatro Ensemble. And over the years, there have been a variety of iterations. Now it's the Chicanx Teatro Ensemble, and I'm so proud of it. But over the years, many, many people have passed through the Teatro Ensemble's hallways. Where do I begin? Yareli Arizmendi, who became very well known for her role in Like Water for Chocolate and Day Without a Mexican. People remember there was one of our same troupe when we were in 1988, and we had a variety of people who were working over the years. Many, many people have come through the Teatro Ensemble, or whatever the names have been, and it's been a wonderful evolution. When I first started teaching at UC San Diego, I had no books. There were no books. And now we cannot teach all of the books, all of the plays that have been published and produced by people who call themselves Chicanas, Chicanos, Nuyorican, Latinxes, whatever we call ourselves. As I've said, I don't care what you call me, just call me. And so this piece here is an homage, to the early Teatro Chicano. It's beginning with the actos, the short sketches that the Teatro Campesino would perform, was very, very what we call rascuachi, which is a very popular term. It's a Mexican term for simple, unsophisticated rascuachi. You say it with love. You don't. It's not an insult. It's that, oh my, this is a rascuachi house, but I love it. And so the rascuachiness was, two boards and a passion. That was the theme back when. That came from the Spanish Golden Age. Give me two boards and a passion, and I'll give you great theater. And that's what the Teatro Campesino did, looking for social justice, looking for justice in the fields, the farm workers' struggle, the late Cesar Chavez, Dolores Huerta, our heroine. All of these teatros that emerged after that movement were very, very simple, very, very unsophisticated, but not simplistic. Simple, but not simplistic. And so now we fast forward to the pandemic, where people are somehow challenged to make theater without an audience, make theater in separate spaces and what have you. And that's what this piece is. It's just an amazing, amazing culmination of all of those challenges. And here we have it, a beautiful story. José Cruz González is our leading theater for youth playwright, TYA. Anthologies of his plays have been published, have been produced all over the country. I'm so very proud of him and his work, as I am of Robert Castro and the many, many people that have come through the Teatro Ensemble. So it's a thrill to be here. I'd be more than happy to ask any questions that people might come up with in the conversation afterwards. Thank you for having me. It's a thrill, it's a joy, it's an honor.
Thank you so much, Jorge. It's a real pleasure to have you and to see the flourishing work of the Chicanx Teatro Ensemble. I'd like to invite José Cruz González, as Jorge mentioned. You've been a student, and now he is a professor emeritus at the California State University of Los Angeles. It's a very prolific writer and award-winning. And so would you join us and tell us a little bit about the piece and your ideas about this piece and what you thought about, and also what happened as you worked with the students? I know this was a big part of it as you thought about this piece.
Well, thank you so much. And again, just what an honor to be back at UC San Diego and with my former professor, of course, an amazing program there at UC San Diego. Pia's Wondrous Adventures, came out of the pandemic, as Robert was saying. And, Marie, who will talk later about her theater, we were going to do a different project, all three of us together. And when the pandemic hit, that theater closed and the project went away. But not the want of Robert, myself, and Murray. And so we continued on for over a year working on Pia by ourselves without any support other than just passion. And so this piece comes out of the dark time of this pandemic, of loss of family and friends. And, and in that, looking at how our community has had to struggle, in that time, and particular children, how do they cope with all these things that are these challenges? And so I wanted to look at that question. And so the other part of it for me was, bringing all the sum of my experiences into this little project, bringing a mashup of different art forms, different storytelling tools that I've used over the years, but bringing something into a mashup of sorts and exploring all these different opportunities of storytelling. But the gift was when Robert mentioned the possibility of working with graduate students in design. And I've had the opportunity to work on projects over the years with designers where we could go into a room together and work. But this was different because we could have all these different designers from different parts of theater: costuming, scenic design, lighting, composition, music, sound, as well as filmmaking, and see what we could do to explore Pia in our first episode, and see how their designs might inform the storytelling. And so that was what we went into with this project. I think the other wonderful thing about having a university help development of new work was, again, very, very special indeed and rare. And so I'm really excited that I could come back home in a way and be another generation with these emerging artists that will do quite amazing work. So I'm happy that we had this gift given to us.
We're very happy to have you, and thank you for working with the group and bringing this piece to us. I'd like to ask two of our community partners who worked on this. I'd like to invite Teddy Cruz, who's a professor of public culture and urbanism at UCSD Department of Visual Arts and the director of the Urban Research and the Center for Global Justice, to just share a few words with us in your relationship, as well as Andy Strum, who's director at the Casa Familiar, who's also an alumni of UCSD. If you could share a little bit about your relationship and the fact that this piece was supposed to happen at Casa Familiar, and now it has found a new life.
Yes, can I begin, Andy? And then it's so wonderful to have Andy here, because he occupies both worlds in a way, worlds that need to integrate. He graduated with an MFA in the Visual Arts Department, and now he's really inside the community, advancing so many incredible programs there. So it's great to have him here. I just wanted to, how to summarize? I have a lot of things to say, and it's great to see all of you. I want to really thank immediately Robert, obviously Robert Castro and José Cruz and Murray. We've been having conversations in the last months, really trying to open up together a variety of opportunities that we will, with time, really develop. And what we saw today is just an incredible teaser. Like, how would I call it? Like an incredible sort of evidence of what can be achieved once we are able to maybe begin, bringing a lot of these possibilities to collaborate with the community, our community partners. And I wanted to contextualize that a little bit, what that means. But I wanted to thank them for their patience as we were really brainstorming together. I want to also thank Jorge Huerta. It's so great to see you. I remember having a conversation with you years ago when I just had first arrived to UCSD. So it's great to see you. Shahrokh, it's wonderful that you are part of this and opening the forum of ideas. I saw Patricia Stone there as well, so it's great to really connect. This is something that we need to continue doing more and more, since all of us are in our own silos across the campus, and this possibility to collaborate and advance work like this is fantastic. Obviously, the students is fantastic what you ended up doing. I mean, I would love to ask you questions about this wonderful interface of the script and the animation and the sound. It ended up, I was surprised. I didn't know how, as a medium, it was going to, advance. And I think it's hugely successful. It makes me think, initially, Jose was actually, and Robert in our conversations with Murray. And by the way, Fona Foreman couldn't be here with us today, so she apologizes, and I'm representing both of us, and Jessica as well from the Center on Global Justice. But I remember this conversation, we were even thinking how youth in the neighborhood could collaborate in really creating the animations or some kind of way of involving them to construct the staging and so on. But this, again, just seeing the visual richness of those animations, it really was wonderful. So congratulations, it was a fantastic first episode and shows the potential of it in moving forward. I just wanted to say, because there's much to say about the piece itself, but I wanted to say that the spirit of our conversation, our relationship throughout the last months is because, Fona and I, through the Center on Global Justice, in collaboration with Casa Familiar, have advanced what we've called the UCSD community stations, which is really a network of field stations located in low-income neighborhoods, low-income immigrant neighborhoods on both sides of the border, 4 of them. And the UCSD Casa community stations is really the oldest and one of the most interesting locations for us. It has been co-developed with Casa Familiar, which is an amazingly progressive social service organization that has been rooted in the neighborhood of San Isidro, which I hope many of you know, a border community, border neighborhood, right? Less than a mile from the border checkpoint. And so this station, which is really a model in a sense, because it is a project that has been led by Casa Familiar, our partner. I should say that the community stations as a project is really linking, obviously, the specialized knowledge of the university with what we call the creative intelligence of communities, circulating knowledges and resources, in a sense, producing, we're advancing the possibility of co-producing knowledge with communities and co-producing work like this. This is really the aspiration. And so in a sense, there are physical spaces as well where these activities happen. So we are co-developing these spaces with our community partners. It's a long-term initiative. So we have engaged in agreements that really lock us into place in the long term. This is not about the university just coming in and out, but really being rooted with the community, advancing long-term projects. And particularly the UCSD Casa community station in Casa Familiar is a beautiful model because it links affordable housing with a community theater and with an open air classroom or a staging for performance, and also social service pavilions. So it's a beautiful model of linking housing with a public space that is programmed and that is supported with funding and collaborative, productions in the long term. I don't know if, can I show you one image of it for a moment, just to really give you a sense of what it is? I don't know if I can share. I have it, this, no, I can't. I have it, this new, I had to transfer all my files to a new computer and I cannot operate it yet. But all I wanted to show, because Andy just sent me a couple of photos, because there was a mini event a couple of weeks ago, and people were having an event showing how the outdoor spaces can be used. The community theater, it happens inside a church that was transformed, basically remodeled, refurbished to become a community theater. We've been so interested in our conversations with Andy about imagining in the future connecting script writers, MFA students from theater and music and visual arts and dance, undergrads, graduate students, maybe connecting them with a coalition that is based in the neighborhood, the local artists, youth, promotoras, residents even, and bringing these coalitions together to co-produce a play potentially. We are so inspired by obviously the community, the legacy and the heritage of Latin American, community theater as it intersects radical pedagogy. And so anyway, there are many aspirations in the shaping of programming that we want to advance with our community partners, with Robert Castro, with Jose, with Murray, with who are really our first partners in thinking that we can advance this type of programming. So anyway, much to say about it. All I'm saying is that what I saw today and this beautiful piece, I think shows really the potential of what we can do together, not only inside our gated intellectual community, but really in relationship, in deep sort of rooted and long-term relationship with our community partners. So I would like to ask Andy if he can maybe say a couple of things about that, even though obviously we have not yet begun to really sort of move, how to say, to perform many of these possibilities together. But we're conceptualizing right now what could be the programming in the next 5 years. So Andy, thank you.
Yeah, Teddy, I mean, I can see it. It's so obvious in the work. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm honored by the presence of Jorge Huerta, of course, and all the amazing, talented people in this ensemble, and the history that Pia's adventures are built on. Also the partners, of course, Teddy, UCSD, so many. Pia's adventure is already pulling on my heartstrings and pulling me in. It's beautiful and I want more. So I'm looking forward to episodes 2 through 7 and beyond. Just a minute about CASA, just because I think it's relevant, to some of the stuff that Jorge has already shared, and Teddy. And CASA has this really long history, and I have to be very transparent that I'm the lone gringo and one of the only men here at CASA, which has been founded and led by very strong Chicanas for a very long time, Latinas. Many identify in lots of different ways, but I'm just here to help carry that legacy on the best I can. But it goes back almost 50 years, way before I arrived. But even before that, our founders were known as Trabajadores de la Raza, and their main work was organizing farm workers more than 50 years ago in partnership with groups using Teatro Campesino as an organizing tool. Perhaps even Jorge himself. I actually haven't had a time to chat with Jorge about that, but my own work with CASA as a visual artist, and part of the reason I'm here and hopefully able to help bridge some of these gaps, is rooted in theories of Teatro Campesino and Theater of the Oppressed, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, and I can see so many ways already that Pia's journey can continue in San Ysidro, and looking forward to that time and how the many youth and promotoras and et cetera can engage and be a part of the process with such a talented team. And it's so beautiful. So yeah, very excited about that. I don't want to take up much more time, but that's kind of a short intro to us at CASA, and looking forward to, welcoming you all here and doing all this in person soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that background and telling us about this really wonderful work that you do. I'd like to invite all the artists now. Now we get to, as I said, the heart of this piece has been the work of you, the artists, the students, and partially we said designers, but Robert told me we don't call them designers, we call them artists. Designers are artists too. But in general, I know that things have changed in a sense that you originally were working on a theater piece and now this is more of a sculpture. It's a film. So I'd like to ask Elizabeth Barrett, Stuart Blackwood, Byron Ely, Harry Foster, Shelby Thatch, Zoe Trotman, Michael Wogeles, Salvador Zamora, Jorge Huerta, Steve Llamas, Angel Nieves, Natalia Cuentra Riestra. Please turn your videos on so we see your beautiful selves and we can have a conversation. There are lots of things to talk about this piece. We we have more people. Please, if I missed anybody, I think I called, and Robert, Miri, and Joanna, please join us as well. But I think this is a discussion to have about the piece. There are many things that came to my mind, but I must say the first time I saw it, I was kind of mesmerized. Jorge mentioned that one of the issues with the pandemic was about children. What happened to children? How did children react to this? And I think it was two generations, the children and older people, and the loss of connection between them was a really devastating thing that happened. But at the same time, now we're looking back, and in some sense, this piece is also looking back at the history of the Chicano. I know that the opening of the film was the list of the books that kind of tell us about, everybody's background from different points of view, and we have to relook at that. So I want to throw this out to see how was your relationship with it, how you connected to it, and how did the thread of the piece get formed. I know that Jose wrote the piece, but you've brought it to life. And in theater, we have a process. We get together, we read the piece, and then there is a process that usually you're not supposed to break it. I always like to break those rules and change things and bring different boundaries together. And I know that happened in this piece as well. So if there are things that you'd like to share before I ask any questions, but I know Robert has a lot of questions he wants to ask as well. But would you want anything to share with us in the process? What was the process like for you?
Well, I've never been a villain. I loved playing the villain, that's all. I didn't get a traitor, but I got to play the villain.
So I'll just speak to Jorge's involvement really quickly about being Ocelotl, the evil presence in the first episode, right? So in terms of the piece, the focus was working with the designers, and traditionally in new play development is usually actors help kind of inform the writer, the director, and identify the story and the characters, right? But we really wanted to have a different process and really put the designers and think about a different process, a different model of play development. So hence we had this wonderful experience, which the designers can talk about more. But all to say, when all of a sudden, I remember we were like week 5 or 6, and we're like, hey, we probably need actors now. Like we think we were kind of like maybe we do need actors all of a sudden, right? And it was wonderful. And so I'm not kidding. Like this is I keep saying Pia is this most special piece I've worked on in such a long time. It's just this is wonderful piece that people just keep saying yes to, and it just keeps bringing the most extraordinary people together. So I remember when after class that day, when the students were like, I think we need to work with actors now to kind of actually maybe hear the voices a little bit more and help us do this next step of kind of, of the process for them. And so I remember it was myself and Juliana and Murray. And I was just like, okay, I think let's just call, I think I know who Pia is. This is called Natalia. I think I got Steven. He's this incredible first-year transfer from Fontana. He is Nopaliztli. Oh my gosh, Angel Nieves, he's like this badass kind of like really like incredible transfer student as well from Fontana as well. And he'd be perfect for the Hummingbird Wizard. And we're all like, yes. So I'm literally called them. No emailing and everything. I just got them on the phone. They all said yes immediately. But then it came to like Ocelotl, and we were like, oh my God, who do we want to be? Have these incredible, top and tail lines, but really critical to the journey, right? This kind of engine, this wonderful spirit. And I remember just like turning to them and go, I think it's Jorge. I think we need Jorge in this piece. And then I called Jorge who says, yes, Jorge, yes. And again, like in the matter of like minutes, Jorge sent the most amazing email, so beautiful and just so touching. Again, how the actors really folded in at the right time. But again, just to kind of circle back to how we were able to bring in Jorge, but also it was my own personal gesture of really acknowledging this new step and this new phase, or this new reimagining of Chicanx Teatro, because we have changed the name during pandemic. It is now, it used to be called the UCSD. Actually, it was the Teatro de UCSD. Remember, Jorge? It was much more, it had different iterations.
Teatro Ensemble, the UCSD.
Yeah, the Teatro Ensemble, the UCSD. And then I think then it became just the Chicano Teatro Ensemble. And then during the pandemic, I was really interested in kind of reimagining it. And so we transformed it to kind of reflect our current conversation about identity and who our communities are, and that X is so critical to embracing, radical inclusivity. And so the Chicanx came about in terms of the title. And I was really looking forward to thinking how will we move forward out of this? Like where are we coming from? What is in our DNA, not only as human beings, as Chicanos, as teatristas, and then how do we move forward? We're coming out of something now, respond to our world, and then how do we come out after? Yeah. And so I really wanted to honor that gesture. And so I just thought it was critical and totally essential to have Jorge Huerta as part of the journey.
And I was and am honored. I want more lines. Of course, I've always said there are no small parts. No, what is it? There are no small parts. There are only small actors. Well, I did my best. Imagine being directed by your student. It was a thrill. It was a thrill. Robert is a taskmaster. No, Jorge, try this. No, Jorge, no. But what about this? What about that? It was great. It was a thrill. But remember this, that José Cruz was one of the earlier versions of Teatro Ensemble as a member. And Robert came in later, and it was 88, isn't it, that we toured to Europe as the Teatro Ensemble, the UCSD, to Europe. Yes, sir. Somebody's going to write a history of the Teatro Ensemble and all the incredible people that have come through, and you're a part of it now. You are all a part of that incredible evolution, and it's just a thrill. It was just, so much.
I'm wondering about how the process was done. Like I know Jose wrote the piece, the text, and I see Stuart, you composed the piece. And how did the music come about? And I'm wondering, I could hear also how everybody else has contributed to this piece. As I said, in theater, many things are clear, but when you come to film, you pass a lot of boundaries. You work together, and in some sense, rather than creating a context for performance, you're creating a sculpture. May I hear from, Stuart, can you tell us how music came about?
Sure, yeah. So it was definitely an interesting process. It was very like having a piano next to me here and singing into a microphone to Robert and Jose live, and then having them give notes and us working it through and bouncing ideas off each other. And we did the same process with the sound design, where we put the film up there, and then I would try things and they would give me notes. And it was really interesting to kind of start from, especially in the sound and in the Serpent Path rap, start from nothing and then have this kind of collaborative growth experience where it's like we were all kind of jamming live, and them giving notes and me being able to throw things in a very organic and kind of beautiful way that I found more effective and more collaborative than going off into our silos and coming back with new material and saying what do you think of this? Yeah, so there was multiple 5-hour meetings where we watched my computer screen and listened to piano and singing and tried to sculpt collaboratively there. And then, going back and prettying things and polishing, but the heart was made all together.
Thank you.
I'll just add to Stuart, just to kind of give a little bit of a wonderful kind of experience in terms of, yes, it was extraordinary kind of being on Zoom and still working and dreaming and world building with everyone. But particularly even with Stuart and Salvador Zamora as well was really wonderful. And I have to say, what was extraordinary for me was we were still discovering the story. Yes, we know what it wanted to sound like, and we know we had ideas about the kind of the composition potentialities. But really, the thrust of our conversations was, Stuart just asked like the most simple question. Him and Salvador, one of our very first meetings was like, what's the emotional arc of this moment? Like, what is it? And I was like, yes, this is exactly where we need to start. Like, what is the why, right? What are we feeling? What do we want to convey through the music, through the visuals, through the mashup of all the aesthetics, all the forms that we had spent weeks on kind of developing, experimenting with, and then literally mashed them all together in a kind of an original form that is called Pia now, right? In this brief digital time. But I just want to highlight the fact that everything that we did during our time working in this visual dramaturgy was really asking these big questions, really fundamentally, which is like, what are we trying to say, right? What is the story? What is the most potent? What is the most necessary? What's the most essential element of the world, right? Or of this section, or of this moment, or of this sound, or of this world, right? Or this feeling, right? It was very, very, for me, it was very powerful to kind of really be inside that kind of depth of feeling with a community of artists, and really trying to figure out this new form of how to tell it.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if that question could be answered or touched upon. Why? Why did you make this piece? And this is a question I'm asking as from the artists, designers. Why do you think you made this piece? Hard question, I know, but that's the question you ask. I always want to ask that on any piece that I do. Please, don't be shy, and if a thought comes to your mind, please share.
If I could add a little comment here, designers like to be backstage.
I know, yeah.
They don't like the stage, and that's why they're so wonderful backstage. Come on, folks, tell us. We know, what was it? The challenge? It's always, what's most exciting about this piece is the challenge to make it happen. Because it's, it was written originally, as José Cruz said, to be staged, and then suddenly now it's going to have to be somehow, converted into a whole new, and it couldn't have happened without you designers.
I'll just add one thought, maybe to kind of, as the artists are gathering their thoughts. I just love to introduce and have Joanna Smith, our puppeturg, our puppet, our maestra, the puppets, we call her. She was extraordinary. I'll just say, just for everybody in the room knows, we knew that it was José really wanted puppets to be part of the aesthetic, right? And so we were using forms that I wasn't familiar with, Murray wasn't familiar with, to some degree, in some of the productions she produced, and José has used them as well. But again, I really have to applaud and really acknowledge and really highlight the fact that José Cruz González was really challenging himself formally. He wanted to create something that he had never done before himself. He didn't want to do something by rote. He just did not want to run another play. He really wanted to reinvent and go in formally in terms of storytelling. And so I knew that it was really critical for us to actually have some expertise in terms of puppetry in the room. And so we were lucky enough to know Joanna, of course, the relationship with Murray and other projects producing, and also with José Cruz. They've worked together on other things as well. This is my first time meeting her, and it's been fantastic. But she came in our very first class of the quarter, right? Week 1 was a puppet boot camp. And that's what we did. We had a puppet boot camp. We just were like, okay, we're going to learn about what, as she calls it, the puppet thinking, puppet mind. What do you call it, Joanna? It's so great.
Yeah, puppet brain. You have to learn.
Brain.
Yeah.
Do our puppet brain. Yes, but also what was so great about it, I have to say, is Joanna's also her kind of simpatico, a kind of relationship to Rasquatchism, as that you were talking about, okay, like just handmade, being sustainable, environmental, whatever you have, make magic out of it, which is the fundamental aspect of theater, ultimately about transformation, right? So Joanna, maybe you wanted to share a few words before at the beginning, maybe that'll spark the artist
sure.
calling our journey.
Yeah, and also I want to tip my head over there, tip my hat to Murray, because this whole project wouldn't have happened without Murray. I just want to acknowledge what a force of wonderfulness you are for children's theater. So thank you. But I also want to just mention the connections. We're talking about history. I'm so happy to hear about the history of especially Teatro Campesino, because I come from a tradition that sparked at exactly the same time. I was a company member for the Bread and Puppet Theater. So the Bread and Puppet Theater was started at the same time in the same reasons for creating political theater were there. And I'm probably like third or fourth generation full-time puppeteer from there. So we are carrying on the spirit of meaning making as a political act, and the way you make theater means something. And so being able to just use what's around you and trust simplicity. And we're very fortunate that José Cruz González writes with the wonderful capturing the childlike imagination that is so crucial to puppetry. And so I will say one big challenge is it's really hard to teach puppetry over Zoom. So we are in challenging times. But I want to just say congratulations to all the artists here who really stretched themselves in this entire process. I know it must have been really difficult for you guys, because here's this wacky lady making you wave around a toilet paper roll and a piece of cloth and saying, look, it's art, so you have to just really look at things differently. So anyway, so thank you for being challenged and being willing to be challenged. And also I do want to mention I'm a professor as well at Cal State San Bernardino, and this project is meaningful to me too, because I have a lot of my students are dreamers, and this idea of borders and transformation and all of the issues that I've been really soaking in, thanks to Robert and the group. It's been a delightful process.
I mean, just to acknowledge Joanna's love for the project, and how Pia is just this kind of she's like this eclectic gatherer of really amazing individuals. Of course, we invited her to come for that one first day, and she never left. She has been with us every day, every class, and has been such a generous supporter, offering her time, offering outside of class resource to guide the students to keep their puppet brain going as we're trying to figure out what is this aesthetic. So huge love and so much thanks to you, Joanna, for all your wonderful commitment to the project.
I called them Stewart because in the list, Stewart is listed as composers and all others have listed as artists. I'm wondering how the images come about. There is, Jana, thank you for mentioning that how artists work with and they try to build something what's around us, and then we go after simplicity, but it's not simple. It's actually this issue of elegance, and that what the piece did for me was that it was human. It's, as I said, the first moment I saw it, it grabbed me by its meaning, but also I felt connected to it. And that's not easy to actually build, and especially in the medium that you worked in. So can you tell me a little bit about how the images came about and how the production process came from the images, from the puppetry, from the animations, and how they connected to the music? Would you share a little bit about the process of the production of the piece? And I don't know what you have worked on, so you'll have to tell me what you've done.
Yeah, I can speak a little bit.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, so mainly, I guess the first third or half of the quarter was focused on doing a lot of dramaturgical assignments, based assignments. So it's coming in with our own collage work based on different sections and doing our own personal research, and then come back and sharings in actual class and lecture setting to share those work, have feedback from the other artists in the room, and then feedback from the professors and guest lecturers as well. And then from there, we're just kind of getting an opinion, where we stand with the aesthetic, how does this tie into the storyline, how does it tie into the dramaturgical research and story that Jose has written. And then we kind of just collectively decide what we feel fits the best based off what Jose's desires. And that's pretty much at a glance, how the production phase went. And then roughly around week 7 or so, 7, 8, we got like into the nitty gritty to like start like getting things like ordered and like shipped and world building and assembling and, you know, filming. So, so the last thing was pretty, you know, quick and fast paced for sure. So that's pretty much how the production process went.
So how did you like connect images together? How did the form come about? Like there is a considerable amount of spaces we go through.
Yes, we essentially broke up the story in 3 parts minus the prologue. So I guess in total 4 parts, and then we kind of decide like what is based off a lot of research we presented in class. We kind of then decided like what do we feel like based off the story that was being told, how would that like serve that part of the story? For example, Elizabeth, she's not here, but she, you know, and I think also Harry as well had some black and white drawings that you see part of the first section. So they brought that in maybe I think week 6 or 7 from the last prompts we did. A lot of people gravitated to that aesthetic for that section. And so we kind of chose that as the lead for that section. And that's how kind of each section kind of got built off of that. And so we kind of divided and conquered in that type of manner. And then we kind of came together and decided like what is you want to work on as artists, not necessarily particular to your discipline, but what are you attached to in the story and how do you want to add to that, add your artistry to that particular part of the story.
Beautiful. Anybody else wants to add to that? I'd love to hear from others. You know, how's this experience as a designer when you work on this? You know, as I said, as a designer, you build something that is malleable. It changes depending on what happens on a performance. But when you're working on something like this, like a film, it's a definitive artifact that you put on the piece. And in some sense, it's a different type of a form. It's not a form necessarily that evolves after it's been built, maybe evolves in the mind of the viewers. But it's a different task for you as designers.
Well, while they reply, can I just make a comment?
Please.
Just to, it's not a question really, but just to share how excited I was about the piece. You know, the way image, animation, script, ambience, you know, atmosphere, sound all came together very beautifully, I think, in a very, I don't know if the word is economic. I mean, it was very strategic. The choice of the graphic systems for a moment, the kind of, you know, the beginning with this sort of very simple black background and the almost chalk drawing, just the outlines and the atmosphere that is just immediately, you know, produced by very simple means, and then the decision of just cutting that sky, right, or that sort of background, that was amazing. And what is his name again? Jorge, right? Jorge appears in the, yeah, with the, oh my God, that was just, I'm telling you, I mean, you feel it. And then the very bright, you know, staging of where the taco truck is. That was a beautiful moment when the taco truck rider, you know, and the music. So no, you are in, you know, as a viewer. So those decisions, probably one question is again, how to achieve something like that when you're working collectively, right? I mean, because it's always, I don't know, I'm an architect, so often it's difficult to design in committee for a moment. I mean, but the calibration of all these elements seems so at unison. But then also how the whole thing really supported the power of the story. And I mean, I think I'm talking about maybe common sense stuff for many of you, but I think it's exactly what Joanna was saying. I mean, this is, you know, which has a sort of such a poignancy. I mean, not only in terms of our time across the incredible political divide, the kind of alienation, the exclusionary kind of agendas. So many things are compressed, obviously, but located. And I'm just already maybe in a kind of selfish way thinking about this finding a home in San Isidro, right? Because it's so close to the border checkpoint. And what you said, Joanna, about the dreamers, I mean, and these are stories, right? These are stories that need to be amplified to produce and to, to invite the larger public, in a sense, to how to change hearts and minds, how to summon a new period of empathy and solidarity. And so, anyway, all of these things come together. It came together when I was watching. Sorry, Jorge.
Yeah. Forgive me. I had to go to the bathroom. What can I say? That's what comes with retirement. No, speaking of collaboration, Edwin, Chicano theater was born of improvisation. Chicano theater was born of no ego. Chicano theater was born of the need for social change. And it was interesting that Johanna worked with, she's the third generation of the Bread and Puppet Theater. There's a wonderful booklet that was published in 1968 by the San Francisco Mime Troupe. It was a gathering. Do you know that? Do you know that booklet? Radical Theater Festival, and those three companies.
It's Bread and Puppet, Teatro Campesino, and San Francisco Mime Troupe, and they're still deeply connected, I think, aesthetically, politically, to this day. Yeah.
And what it addresses is the fact that, going back to the whole notion of individuality, Edwin, the whole notion of ego. You don't have ego when you are trying to change the world. If you just think about yourself, you're not in the community. You know, there's a community effort. And that's what this became. It became a wonderful, you know, somebody talked about being in silos. Yeah, oh, you're a designer, that's all you can do. You can only design. Oh, you're a writer, that's all you can do is write. When I got to UCSD as a young, dashing, debonair assistant professor in 1975, as I told you, and I decided I had to direct and I had to document what was happening in Chicano theater. Nobody else had a PhD in theater capable of doing the research. So I was writing about it and doing it. And the powers that be said, well, is Georgie going to be a scholar or an artist? And I said, I have to be both, right? So we were all siloed. Everybody had to go into a certain pigeonhole, but that has changed. And now we have school artists. In the Latinx theater community, we have school artists, scholars who are also artists, and the academy be damned. They're going to have to deal with the fact that we have to do it all. But most of all, it goes back to the whole notion of individuality. It's not about the individual, it's about the community process. And that's what CASA does. You know, that's what all of these organizations have done. And that's what this piece is all about, a community collaboration. It's brilliant. It's just beautiful. Who would have thunk, you know?
Jorge, when you speak, it makes me think that this idea of separation of the arts and scholarship, it's really a European model. It's a model that separates philosophy from poetry and artistry, and somehow bringing it together in academia, it's a very, very difficult task. It's almost unfathomable. But when we do art, it is exactly what's needed. This idea of interdisciplinary, and I think in theater, it's one of the places that it comes really alive, is that you have to do many things together. So it is still somewhat transdisciplinary within the arts, but then the moment we bring critical elements to it and we talk, it is a lot of scholarship that comes to it. And it is when they come together, it is not just what we say, also how we say it. Yes. It becomes something that becomes human. It becomes something that reaches the heart. And so I think it's in so many different cultures all around the world, these two elements have always been together. Have always the idea of poetry in what it says is that philosophy is not just a statement, but it is a gesture. It is something that we connect to others. And so in that sense, this piece has done a lot of that. As we talk about, again, I keep going back to this idea that there is a humanity in it. And today we live at a point that we're looking back as our life, and we're going to re-envision our lives. We're going to have to see what the meaning of an artist is. And I think finding new ways to connect with others is always an important one. In Persian, there is a proverb that is say, with any kind of a trick, you have to find a connection to the friend's heart. So, Joanna, please.
Oh, I don't mean to put these two students on the spot, but I really, really value the voices of these artists. I think they're so amazing. So if I can share a moment I loved, and then maybe the two artists involved can maybe reflect on it. So Brian and Shelby, do you remember the day you were put together? And then we had that beautiful moment where all of a sudden we saw a flat bird puppet in this gorgeous landscape that Brian had created. There he is! So do you guys want to talk about that, how that happened?
Yeah, so I can start with my, I guess, part. So I guess it was maybe week 2 or 3, we had to build like, we had to pretty much bring like example of like, of each part, like I talked about before, how we broke the story up in parts, and then bring an example like what you, like the aesthetic representation, and it could be in any form. Some people did digital, some people did, I chose to do a environmental collage for mine. So, and also part of the prompt was to read the play out in nature and then go and do the actual physical part of the assignment. So my part of the assignment, I chose to do an environmental collage. And what I did was I went to read the play at Black's Beach, and then I went there, I did like a hike after that. I grabbed a lot of this like natural materials, dead cacti, sand, rocks, flowers. I took some real flowers, sorry. And then I used that to build my environmental collage. So I pretty much had this one section to where I had all these natural elements in this like this little sandbox I built. And then I took like a digital 2D graphic of like pretty much looks like a southwestern sunset with mountains in the background. And I put those real elements in front of this digital back screen, and I lit it with the colors of like the sunset with actual real light on the objects, and had this really, you know, pretty glow. And so the next week, I believe we had to do a mashup of our previous assignments. And so Shelby, she made some portal boxes, which she can talk about shortly. And then we chose to mash those up, and she took one of her elements out of her little portal box, and we placed that inside of my 3D element for the second installation of the assignment. And then we also have part of the assignment was to have a surprise element. So the surprise element is that in Tlaxlandia, there's supposed to be a representation of 2 suns. So we had 2 sunflowers in there. Well, I won't talk it out. I'll let Shelby. I want to take out the story.
Yeah, so my portion of that first assignment for our research, I created these 3 like shadow boxes almost made of paper. And one of the words we had to research was Nopal, which is what Nopaliztli's character was based off of. So I decided to design a little Nopaliztli for my box. So for the mashup, this is the character that I ended up creating like a puppet of. And we put it together with Brian's little desert collage and like puppeted him through to interact with the little plants and stuff. And then for the surprise element that Brian was mentioning with the twin suns in Tlaxlandia, we decided to add a digital element to this like physical puppet world that we built. And it was 2 sunflowers that transformed into 2 suns.
It's beautiful. Could we see the puppet one more time? Could you really bring it close by? Wow. Beautiful. Perhaps this is a moment we can switch to talk a little bit about the future of the piece. Actually, before that, I apologize. One thing I wanted to hear from Kyle. Kyle, can you tell us about your experience about editing this piece?
Sure, yeah. I came in while all these beautiful things had already been made, and I came in along with my, sorry for the sun here, but anyway, with my colleague Sam.
Nice lighting.
Yeah, I could use some help with that, guys. Maybe we can talk afterwards. My colleagues Sam and Angelis, who contributed some animation and some illustrations to sort of, you know, translate this beautiful physical world, which I could be there and see, and try to provide a little technical expertise about how we could help get that into a film. And it was, of course, a pleasure to work with all these designers, and I'm really happy to have met all you guys. And also is artistically satisfying. You know, when I thought about it, Pia and then the people, of course, who dreamed Pia up originally, grow out of cultures that are all about existing on two sides of a boundary, or across borders or whatever. And so it sort of made sense that we were all together trying to create this physical world, but then show it either in film or this virtual world that we're all gathered here today in. And so, yeah, it just felt kind of really artistically satisfying to try to find a new way that all these different worlds, artistically satisfying and like appropriate, to find a way for all of these worlds to exist. So thanks to all of you guys for the invitation and for being such lovely collaborators.
I just also want to just thank Kyle as well. And again, I talked about how, you know, Natalia and Jorge and Steve and Angel, all, you know, I called them and immediately we kept folding in people as we needed them. And same thing with Kyle. I've known Kyle when he was a wonderful PhD student in the music department. And he's an extraordinary artist himself. And when the students, again, they're like, first they said, like, we need actors now. We got the actors, like, hey, we maybe need to like have someone help us organize and help kind of like put this together, right? With some skills. And right away, the first person I thought of, again, was Kyle. I know he's a local San Diegan as well, and he's steeped in Chicano culture. He transcends both borders, and his art making process is extraordinary. So I actually texted him, called him, and like, again, like he just picked up the phone and I said, I have this crazy idea. And he just said, not a problem. He was on board like immediately. So all I have to say is what we're talking about, this idea of community and everybody bringing in their expertise, bringing in their passion, their love for this thing that's bigger than all of us, right? In a sense, in the end, and not knowing what it is, not knowing where we're going to end up. But like our current kind of experience right now, we're all holding hands, trying to comfort each other, taking care of each other, but bringing our affinity to what we love, our passions for what we want to aspire to, and our expertise about what we want to throw into this beautiful thing called Pia. I was recalling the very first day that I had with the artist, with the Teatro Ensemble. It was a very special, we did a very special ritual, and it was about getting to know each other and just starting from people first, right? And then the art comes, and that transformation, transgressing, transcending all those wonderful things that we get to do in the theater and that we're all committed to. But I was really interested in just coming together, bringing our full selves, our full imaginations, our full hearts, not knowing where we're going to go, but just saying yes. And I think that is the spirit ultimately of not only theater, but is actually, I think, the spirit of Teatro and the spirit of what Jorge has created at UC San Diego, and that I'm trying to maintain. And through this beautiful, as I said on that first day with the Teatro, we're each kind of creating this big bonfire. We're each part of this incredible fire, signaling to the cosmos, creating comfort, created through love and joy, putting ourselves into the project fully, and with all our spirit, all our life force, creating a necessary cosmo-vision for the 21st century.
All right.
I said I'd like to ask about the future of the project. Jose, I introduced you, but you've been kind of not present because I didn't call on you. I apologize for that, but I hope you open your video and be with us. And I also, Mary and Joanna, Mary is, I didn't say, but is the founder of In Other People's Shoes Production, a new company that tells impactful, imaginative, and artistic stories of young people and families from all walks of life. She's also a very prolific artist, as well as Joanna Smith, who's a professor of puppetry, theater education, and entrepreneurship at California State University, and San Bernardino, and the author of The Puppetry in the Theater and Arts Education. If you could share a little bit about the future of this piece and where you think it goes. I know we just watched one episode of it, 7 minutes of it.
Well, I'm happy to jump in, and Murray and Johanna, please jump in whenever you can. we had imagined the idea of in this digital age, as we are during the pandemic, was how could we create theater that could go into the classroom and work with young people? Because that's another element that we want to eventually pursue is to actually work with collaborators, young collaborators, students, to learn what they understand about the story and what kind of engagement we can have to help us, again, to continue to develop the play. And so one way to do it is by bite-sized episodes, chapters, if you will, like a book. And that then students can engage, respond, and we then would do this weekly with them. And in a way, bring theater in a different way to the classroom. But ultimately, the plan is for it to be a live performance, and acquiring these skills with development in the visual world, as well as working with young people, are the elements that we want to build this piece with. It's all about community.
So I just want to say, this has been such a fun learning for all of us, because as everyone's been saying, we didn't know what it was going to be or how it was going to be. I will say that In Other People's Shoes is committed to continuing to work with Jose and Robert to develop the piece. I'm with you, Andy. I want to see episodes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 also. So that's our goal, is to really be advocates for the play and to help it develop and continue and share. So we want to kind of work on the rest of the episodes. We want to share them along the way with people. We don't want to wait till they're all finished and then we kind of present them. We want children to help us figure out what they are. We want to share with communities along the way to see how they're made. So it's not just a finished product, just like today talking about the process. We really want to do that the whole way. I think Jose should share about this award that he just got called Reimagine, which is going to help us do the next step, which is really super exciting.
In this time of the pandemic, one of the things that the Theater for Young Audiences field started to look at is, well, how do we engage our communities of artists, in particular BIPOC artists, and how can we support those artists? And so, by sheer bringing people together, communities together, the Kennedy Center, the Children's Foundation, of America, right now, a new play development program, all these different organizations pooled their resources to basically fund 8 artists, BIPOC artists from around the country. 119 playwrights submitted their work, and 8 were chosen, and we were among those 8. Those funds are going to help us develop the piece over during this year, and it's really just dramaturgy, for dramaturgy, for new play development. And so that's where we're going to go, and really excited to have been acknowledged and honored by the award. And so we're excited to go on this next phase.
That's fantastic.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. It's true. We're looking forward to see the evolution of the piece. I know we have a number of attendees. I'm wondering if there are any questions from the audience. If you'd like, you can type in your questions in the chat from artists. I don't know if you can actually speak. I'm forgetting, Max, you told me. I'm forgetting if this is possible or not, but I know you can type in your questions if there are any.
You can type your questions in the Q&A box, or you can raise your hand and we will call on you to unmute your mic and you can ask your question.
Trish, please.
Hi. This was such a lovely piece. And as a visual artist, I don't get the chance to work with singers very often. And so I was wondering if we could hear a little bit from the vocalists, what their experience was like. Like, was that improvisation or was it highly directed? And what was your authorship in that?
Well, I can jump in, but Natalia, and I hope the other students can talk about it. In writing these songs, one of the things that we were looking to do was to, involve our students into the project. But ultimately, the first song I sung it, Stuart had asked me to try different ways of interpretation, and one was a sick, very sick old man, old man here, and the other one was just singing a song, telling a story. And so ultimately we chose that version, but we had to record it here at my home. I recorded while Stuart was in Ohio, or is in Ohio, and we were able to do it that way. So that was my part of it. Natalia?
I believe Natalia had to jump off, so she's.
The theater and dance department have a lot of shows opening tonight. Our undergrads are doing opening their spring show, and I believe maybe Natalia also had her own rehearsal to go as well, which is 6:30 is call times in the theater and dance world.
But to speak a little bit more about like the process, it was I recorded myself singing it and sent it to folks for them to practice, if that answers the question. And then we got together on a very funny piece of software that Salvador ran and was the wonderful audio engineer of Clean Feed, if I'm remembering offhand. And we all spent time recording it in multiple ways, and we tried various like temperaments and intentions behind the dialogue. And then after that, we all I ferreted away and made up a couple versions and shared them with Jose and Murray and Robert, and they were like, yes, no. And that was our loose process. So many options that we then chopped up.
Can I make one last commentary?
Oh, absolutely, please.
Based on what Jose was saying about this, congratulations, Jose, about that award. And also thinking about the future, maybe it's a comment about the future of the piece, because obviously we are excited to think of forming a collaboratory, right, as part of this, the UCSD Casa Familiar Community Station. And I did not mean to know that I am, I don't understand what collaboration means in this sort of, Jorge, in this sort of process. After all, that's the spirit of the entire initiative, the community stations, to collaborative research and education. But in terms of the piece itself, I mean, you were saying, Jose, that obviously it will be performed, but this has opened up already an interesting sort of possibility to producing the kind of hybrid of projection and animation and sort of live performance. But also the question is maybe, I don't know if the script or the story has been already completed or something, but once, let's say, the collaboration could happen with youth in the neighborhood, where some of their imaginations and dreams and angsts and struggles could be infiltrate, let's say, the script, and is that something that you are anticipating will be part of the process?
I think that we want to engage audiences in ways that involve them to become their own storytellers. And, one of the things that we're playing with the frame is that Pia, as an elder, is reading a story, and the story comes to life. And these are her stories as a child. And so we kind of think that wouldn't it be wonderful to have children write their own stories that become, part of Pia in the journey. And so I think we'll see Pia in many possible forms, as a graphic novel, as something, as this a digital performance, a live performance, an audio performance. So I think it could be many ways that could reach audiences in different ways in preparation to ultimately see it as a live performance. And so these are the things that we're looking at, dreaming and seeing what might be possible. So it's just trying to reinvent and take these different things and mash them up in a new way to reach audiences, in untraditional ways, if that makes sense.
Right.
Thank you so much for being with us. I think this is perhaps a good moment with that for me to say thank you for being here. Thank you for this really wonderful piece to share with us. Congratulations to all of you for making it happen. Where I'm looking forward to see how it evolves, to hear about it. And I could not have thought of a better way to end our ideas season of this year, this really special year that we have gone through, trying to reimagine our life, to imagine our future. And as I said, artists were one of the main groups that were affected by it, and we will reimagine ourselves. We will reimagine what we will have to do. And thanks again for providing this. I think we're gonna have another chance to see the piece. We have a comment from Ricardo. Thank you, Ricardo. It says thank you for all the work and the gestures that has happened. The co-creation and co-imaginations are so important. Fantastic comment too. And thanks again, and maybe see the piece again.
Pia's Wondrous Adventures in Tlaxlandia. Chapter 1. The Hummingbird Wizard Seeks a Hero.
Today is Pia's 10th birthday, sad tears in her eyes. Her best friend, Mr. Jesse, lost his fight and died. A sickness spread across the land, no one could understand. Parents, family, and friends, some sadly died in the end.
I miss you, Mr. Jesse. Come back to me. I need you, Mr. Jesse. Like things used to be.
How do you keep from crying when you feel like dying? Your world shut down, everything upside down.
I miss you, Mr. Jesse. I miss you, Mr. Jesse. I miss you, Mr.
I am the Hummingbird Wizard from the Kingdom of Tlaxlandia. I too have lost many friends.
You can speak?
Yes, I speak many languages, Metzgali.
My name is Pia.
In our world, Metzgali means she who seeks truth.
Your world?
We haven't much time. The moons are in alignment. We must go now.
Go where?
To Tlaxlandia. Queen Elvirus, the sorceress of the eastern moons, and Ocelotl, the jaguar lord of the night, have all but finished us. Only you can stop them.
What's happening?
Lord Ocelotl has found me.
Prepare your fate, wizard bird.
He mustn't find you!
Am I dead?
No. You've been sleeping.
Who are you?
I am Nopaliztli, the Hummingbird Wizard's apprentice, Metzgali. Thank goodness I found you. I've been looking for you for days.
It's Mr. Jesse's taco food truck. Oh no!
The Hummingbird Wizard saved your life from Lord Ocelot by changing you into your animal spirit.
Change me back!
Only the Hummingbird Wizard and his wizard excellence can do that. His last message to me from the Book of Instruction was to search for you in the Valley of Sorrows.
Well, where is he?
Imprisoned in La Isla de las Muñecas.
Then that's where I must go.
No, it's impossible and much too dangerous. Queen Elvirus' spies are everywhere. What to do? What to do? Look there!
Hey! Hey! What are you doing, Nopaliztli?
Hiding?
Why?
Because I'm a failure. A good for nothing? I'll never be a Nawali like the great Hummingbird Wizard.
Never say never! Mr. Jesse always said that if you never try, how will you ever get better?
Is this Mr. Jesse a great Nawali in your world?
No. He was my godfather and my best friend.
How did you do that?
I don't know. Look, Nopaliztli, I need your help to find the Hummingbird Wizard so he can change me back. If that means going to La Isla de las Muñecas, then that's where we need to go.
We?
Yes. We.
I'm not prepared for this, and I'm not very brave.
That makes two of us. I'm Pia. We're partners now. Slide me some skin. Good enough.
It's too far on foot, and my wings aren't strong enough to carry you, Pia Metzgali. We need something to get us there as fast as possible. The serpent path is long and treacherous.
We got Mr. Jesse's taco food truck.
That thing?
Mr. Jesse's dream to turn an old food truck into an electric lowrider has happened. I'm calling it my Lolo, my ride, my Ramfla. Get in. Vámonos! On the serpent path is where we go. Together as one, that's how we roll.
Let's not forget the trouble ahead. Facing dangers, we'll lose our heads.
One step at a time, we'll take it slow. Together as one, here we go. Sing it with me, loud and proud.
One step at a time, we'll take it slow. Together as one, here we go.
The game begins. We shall see who wins.
It's a wonderful way to end. Thanks, everybody. I wish everybody a wonderful summer.